Hi, 7th graders. This is Mrs. Martin. I am excited to be doing your October book talk. After this book talk is done and you're finished watching the video, you are welcome to check out some books using our on-hold options for your iPad. And if you've not yet watched that video, or if it's been a while, you can go to the library homepage and go under the Resources tab. There you will see some different video links by cohort. You can find your cohort link and then watch that quick video just reminding you how to place a book on hold. I know that if things were a typical school year, we would have you coming down to the library, going to the shelves, picking up books off the shelf. But right now we're asking instead that students request books using their iPad and then waiting for a Schoology message from Mrs. Kump saying that the book is ready. It's been working really well. In most cases, students are having to wait usually only 15 to 20 minutes, and then they can come down and pick up their book. I hope that one of the books that I share today sounds like a good one to you, but if not, you can take some time to look through our catalog online and find another author or book or series that looks like a good book that you'd like to check out. As always, I'm available to help you out with any of that, so you can stop down to the library or send me a message on Schoology. We're going to start our book talk today with this series. As you can tell, our slides are going to be set up the same way they've been before, with the title and author, the book cover, and the genre in the top right-hand corner. Conspiracy 365. This is a 12-book series by Gabrielle Lord in our adventure section. These are fantastic because they are suspenseful and action-packed. On the first pages, this story opens with Cal being chased down in the streets by a guy on New Year's Eve. And the man tells him, "They killed your father, they'll kill you. You need to survive the next 365 days." This starts Cal off on this life on the run, basically. Cal has to try to uncover the truth about what happened to his dad. How did his dad mysteriously die? And there's another huge secret from the past that Cal has to try to figure out, all before the year is up. He does not know who he can trust. It seems that everybody around him, people that he's meeting, everyone wants him dead for some reason or another. And everywhere he turns, he has to ask himself who he can trust and, kind of how is it that he's going to survive? He's always questioning that and wondering. This is a fantastic series because the clock is constantly ticking. In fact, this author chose to have the pages of this book count down. So if the book started on page 200, the book would actually end on page number 1. So you have the sense of urgency all the way through the book, feeling like you are counting down with Cal, just wondering, every second could be his last. Will Cal make it through? Every chapter ends on a cliffhanger with you wondering. The suspense is just there. It's just a terrific series for any reader, and if you love something that is full of action and adventure, this would be a great one to pick up. Students are asking for something spooky and eerie during the month of October, so the Creepover series by P.J. Knight would be a great book series to pick up. This one is the first book in the series, though you do not have to read them in order. And if you've ever been to a sleepover where you've gotten spooked by something, maybe it was a noise in the house where you were staying, or someone told a ghost story that kind of gave you the creeps, this book is going to fit right into that. Our main character, Abby, is playing a game with her friends. They dare her to tell a truth about something, and she decides to confess a secret that nobody else knows. She's never shared it with anyone, and that leads to something pretty scary happening. We're going to watch a book trailer to find out a little bit more about that. poor Abby does not know what is going on. This is a secret she hasn't shared with anyone before, and even though she tells her friends at the party, she does not suspect that it's one of them that is sending these texts. So who might be doing so and why? You've got to read this mystery to find out. And again, there's a lot of different books in the Creep Over series. You could read any one of them in any order. Gordon Korman is known more for, I'd say, his funny books. This happens to be in the adventure section. It's still got some humor to it because it's Korman. Notorious is the story of Keenan, who has lived pretty much everywhere across the world, but never in a place as strange as Centerlight Island, which is located, I guess, somewhere between the United States and Canada. This isn't a real place, but in his book it is. And he has met his new neighbor, Zebe. Her name is Zarabeth, but they call her Zebe. Zebe is convinced that her dog, Barney, has been murdered. And her dog was her kind of pride and joy, her favorite thing. Just about everybody on Centerlight Island is a suspect in Zebe's eyes because everybody hated Barney. Barney was this huge dog, and he was notorious for terrorizing the community, making everybody miserable, doing all kinds of horrible things. So because of that, Zebe is checking out absolutely everyone to see who might have murdered her dog. And she decides she's going to enlist Keenan's help to solve the mystery. There's a lot more to it than that, especially because this becomes less of a mystery and more of an adventure story as Keenan and Zebe set out to not only find out who murdered her dog, but also they uncover a little bit more about what Centerlight Island is all about. And this adventure story is perfect for those of you who are animal lovers, as well as someone who just likes a good adventure that you're kind of looking for all those twists and turns. A story that's going to give you lots of those. Just again, back to that action standpoint. This is not a book that has any slow parts to it. Try this one out by Gordon Korman or any of his other books in the library. The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix is one of our newer ones to the library. This is actually a series as well. I have to confess I've only read the first book in the series, but it's in the mystery section too. This book might make you ask yourself the question, what makes you, you? Well, the Greystone kids thought they knew. They have their things that they're interested in. They're part of the family. They've always been a happy family. It's just the three of them and their mom. That all changes, though, when the reports of 3 kidnapped children reach their family. And that's startling enough, but what's really shocking is how similar they are to the 3 kidnapped kids. The 3 kids who have been kidnapped and are being reported about share the same first and middle names as those kids of the Greystone family. They're also the same ages, and they have identical birthdays. So if you can imagine watching the news or going online and hearing a story about 3 children who have been kidnapped and learning that they have the same names and ages and birth dates as you do, this would, I'd imagine, cause quite a bit of concern. Who exactly are these strangers? Well, of course, Chess, Emma, and Finn, the Greystone kids, go to their mom immediately. They ask, who are these kids? Why do they have the same names? Why do they have our birthdays? But before they can really even find out anything, she takes off on a work trip and leaves them in the care of another family. There are some clues left behind that lead them to uncovering all kinds of secrets. And that's just the beginning. The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix, a fantastic mystery book. The I Survived series by Lauren Tarshish is terrific for those of you that like a little bit of history and adventure thrown in together. I wanted to mention this one because while we have had the I Survived novels in our library for quite some time, we just recently got the graphic novel of I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic, 1912. These books bring in a historical event and they add in a fictional element to that history. So the sinking of the Titanic back in 1912, of course, is something that actually happened. And in this story, our author decided to put in a fictional character, a 10-year-old kid named George, and his little sister Phoebe, and she wrote a story around that, pretending as though these kids were on board the Titanic when it sank, and tried to imagine what that might be like. The graphic novel takes that same story and puts it into a graphic novel form. So both books, fantastic. We're going to take a quick look at what that graphic novel looks like inside.
A favorite I Survived book is now a thrilling graphic novel. 10-year-old George is on an exciting adventure, traveling across the ocean on the most majestic ship in the world, the Titanic. George loves exploring every inch of the ship with his sister Phoebe. But when he sneaks out one night without her, a huge crash shakes the entire boat. The Titanic has struck an iceberg, and freezing cold water is everywhere. Suddenly, George is fighting for his life, trapped below decks on a doomed ship. Can George guide his family and friends to safety and escape the ship before it sinks? Find out in I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic, 1912. Look for it at your Scholastic Book Fair.
So again, we have both the novel and the graphic novel in the library, so you could check out either one by placing either book on hold. One other option I wanted to mention before wrapping up the book talk is that you have lots of ways to read books using your iPad as well. You can download ebooks using the Mac and Via app, or you can also be listening to audiobooks using Mac and Via. Either way, these get downloaded right to your iPad where you'd be able to read them or listen to them. And this is a nice option if you are in Cohort C and learning from home. It's great if you're, at home and you're not wanting to wait to pick up a book here in the library. It's also just nice if, for example, it's a book that we don't have in our library, but it is available on Mac and Via. So this is a book we do have in our library that you could place on hold and you could pick it up off the shelf, in a typical year, or you could place it on hold and Mrs. Kump would send you a message to come and pick it up. Or, like I'm going to show you now, you could use Mac and Via to listen to this book. Fish in a Tree by Linda Mullally Hunt is the story of Allie, who is a very smart girl, but she believes herself to not be very smart because she has a learning disability. That learning disability is dyslexia, where for Allie, her letters in words get all jumbled up. Sometimes those letters flip around upside down. Sometimes the letters switch places. Either way, it makes it sometimes difficult for Allie to read. But rather than Allie telling other students or her teachers that she struggles with this, she instead just does distracting things or does things to get herself in trouble in school so that people don't notice that she has this reading issue. For Allie, luckily, her newest teacher, Mr. Daniels, notices how smart she is, and he helps Allie to see how smart of a girl she is. He helps her to recognize that being smart is not simply about knowing everything or being able to do everything quickly, but it's about using the gifts that you have, and it's also about finding ways to work around things that can be challenging. This is a fantastic book if you've not read it yet. One of my favorites, actually. So there's a way for you to also listen to this book as an audiobook, and I want to show you that just for a moment here. If Mac and Via is not an app that's already on your iPad, you'll want to download that in your self-service. You also can go on the Library Media Center homepage, which I'm going to do here. And you'll notice that Mac and Via shows up right here toward the top by our District 196 ebooks. So I'm going to just click on that, because this is another way that you can go online just to see what's here. When you're on Mac and Via, you will want to be sure that you are logged in under Valley Middle School of Apple Valley, and click Login. When it asks for your username and your password, for students, your username is your ID number, and your password is your CoLab password. For teachers, it's the first and last name. I must have typed something too quickly. Now that we're here, we can see at the top that we have over 2,000 Mac and Via ebooks and audiobooks in our system. Lots of ways to do some searching here. Today, all I'm going to do is go on the left-hand side and click on audiobooks. This will give me a chance to look at the books that I can listen to. And I decided that I wanted to scroll down until I found the book that I wanted to share with you. Now you could click on any of these titles, any of these covers, and learn a little bit more. You'll notice these are in alphabetical order. So if there's a certain book you're looking for, you can look by the alphabet. So here's our Fish in a Tree. Looks like both of our copies are currently checked out, and the way we know that is with that little red dot in the bottom right-hand corner. Couple of options. One thing I can do here is, you see if I hover over, I can request this book, which all that means is if I press the request button, it will then allow me to be on the waiting list for that audiobook, and I'll receive an email when that book becomes available. I can also press the I and find out a little bit more about the book itself. So that gives me a bit more information if I decide I want to read a summary about the book. I can find out what are some of the subjects, learn a little bit more about that title. So just a quick reminder that that is available. Those ebooks are there, and audiobooks as well. So don't forget that that's another resource for reading. A couple other helpful tips as you're thinking about checking out books. You can visit our homepage at any time for resources, information on new books, and updates on what's going on in the library. I'd encourage you to contact me or Mrs. Kump on Schoology, or stop down if you have a question. I'd also say, please search the catalog if you have favorite authors or genres, and ask friends for recommendations. If they've got a good book they're reading, they'd be great resources for you too. As I mentioned at the beginning of this book talk, keep track of book titles you want to request later in case a book is already checked out. And my last reminder is to please wait on that Schoology message before stopping down to the LMC. When you place a book on hold using our system, there is going to be an automatic pop-up that says your book is available, or the book is ready for you, or something like that. Please know that only means the book is on the shelf, but we do need to give Mrs. Kump a little bit more time. As I said here, she is a fast worker, but she isn't a wizard. So we do need to give Mrs. Kump the time to actually go and take the book off the shelf that you want and check it out to you. She will send you the Schoology message, again, usually within 15 to 20 minutes, and she'll tell you, hey, your book is ready, you can come down and pick it up from the library. If you have other questions, please let us know, and in the meantime, happy reading.